out on such short notice. Today I want to talk to you guys about one of these, a cell phone, well mostly social media. I'm sure we all own one or at least have access to one. I have seen the first-hand effects of phones and social media on the teenage generation because I'm in it. Now I would want to ask you guys a question. How often do you look up from your phones to actually have a face-to-face conversation? In this day and age, it's hard to find teenagers who don't have their phones glued to their hands. When I say teenagers, I'm talking about ages around 13 through 17 years old. A lot of things that social media affects is it affects your social skills. Sometimes you'll put up a false narrative of your life because you want it to sound better than it is. And then it also affects face-to-face interactions. Statistics show that 92% of teenagers go online at least once daily, and of that, 24% go online constantly. And that comes from the Pew Research Foundation, which was done about a year ago on April 9th, 2015. It's really crazy to think that people could be on their phones constantly, just scrolling through Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you name it, and they're on it. And they can know what their friends around the world or what celebrities are doing at any point in time, but they won't know that there's something wrong with someone sitting right next to them. According to Mark Glasser, who's the author of How Cell Phones Are Killing Our Face-to-Face Interactions, which was written in October 22nd, 2007, which is a bit dated, but what he said still rings true today. He mentions that we are in a technology gadget haze. We are losing out on time spent being in the moment to get into our virtual world. He talks about how he just went through a walk through a campus and almost every single person he saw was on their phones. Even if they were walking next to friends, they were still just on their phones and they wouldn't even talk to their friends at all. He also made a really good point by saying that the subtext to checking text messages in front of friends is, somewhere else there is someone else that I care about more than you, and I want to know what they have to say more than I want to know what you have to say. Another problem I have observed with our generation is that we put up false narratives of our lives. Some people make their lives look super good and only show the positive parts of their lives, and that will make other people jealous because they're like, wow, how is someone's life that's great, but it's probably not. And then other people only put the sad and the hard times up of their lives. It's hard to find a person who has a good mix and a good balance of it, but I personally believe you should just keep your personal life off social media, but if you're gonna put it on, you should be your authentic self. As my uncle, George Bernard Shaw, once said, I don't tell people my problems because half of them don't care and the other half are glad I have those problems. So, I now have a clip for you guys. It's from Dana Boyd, and she is a fellow at the Harvard Berkman Center for Internet and Society. She recently wrote a book called It's Complicated, How to Understand Teen Lives on Social Media.
And so these tools make it visible aspects of life that we often spend time trying really hard to avoid. Things that, showcase that young people aren't doing well. And when young people aren't doing well and they're looking for attention, they use these technologies to connect to people in really deeply problematic ways. And so that is where you see the cons come out, is where, these tools allow you to connect, and that so
teens often misuse social media to tell about their personal lives and tell their problems, which is really not what these apps were ever made for. And now one of my biggest points about social media is social media takes away from face-to-face interactions. You can send a text message, a tweet. A Facebook post or anything, and it can get to thousands of people without you ever having to talk to a single person. You can even go online shopping and never talk to a single person, which is not the same case as it was in my parents' generation. I recently went out to dinner with my family, and my sister and I have to put our phones away so we can have real conversation with our parents. And I was looking around the restaurant and I saw whole tables of families just sitting on their phones, and it was like they were having dinner by themselves. They weren't talking to each other. I saw a specific table that seemed to be two grandparents, a grandma and a grandpa, taking their two teenage daughters to dinner, and both of the daughters looked like they had their phones glued to their hands, and the grandpa asked them how their day was, and neither of them said a word. They didn't even look up. So they were kind of like my inspiration to write this, because I feel like we all need to think more about our use of social media. So I hope you have learned that being on social media can be a good thing and a bad thing as long as you use it in moderation, and that social media can really affect how teenagers view themselves and their social skills and how they just talk to one another. And even though I talked all about teenagers, this still could apply to adults too, because we all need to reevaluate how much time we spend on social media. So I hope we all take a step out of the virtual world.